What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we are going to be reviewing the ugliest pistol of all time. It is the Hi-Point C9. So what is this little pistol? Well, it is a compact framed, blowback operated 9mm pistol with a 3.5 inch barrel, and it weighs a stout 1 pound 15 ounces, so basically 2 pounds, with a magazine capacity of 8+1. It also comes in many interesting colors: black, pink, desert digital, and probably my favorite, the $100 bill finish, because why not? So why would you buy this? Well, theoretically, it is a compact gun, so it could do quite a bit. It kind of tries to fit in the same category as the G19, the home defense concealed carry type category, although it's a little hefty for that and it's a little wide for that, as you can see. But you could definitely defend your house with it if you had to, and you could definitely carry it if you had to. But for me personally, I think it would flex really well into like a bug out roll. If you had to put this in a plastic bag and bury it in a ditch somewhere, or leave it in a shed in the middle of nowhere, or whatever you're going to do with it, it would flex really well into a truck gun as well, or maybe a glove box gun or something like that. Since it's incredibly cheap, so if it does get stolen, you're not out too much money. But mainly it's a gun that you get when you either can't afford to get a better one, or you just simply don't want to. So I like to start off these reviews with the most important category, which is reliability. And I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but this thing really does work. It's not the most reliable pistol I've reviewed by far, but it's definitely not unusable either. I would say about 95%, and that's pretty good considering that you can find these as low as $100. So about 97, 98% I would even say. Probably 2 malfunctions per each 100 rounds. And since the videos I've checked online as well have verified that, I'm going to consider that probably about the reliability you can expect. Now that's one of the 2 selling points of this pistol. The 2 selling points being reliability and price. Because let's be honest, if this pistol was a girl, she wouldn't exactly be modeling. She'd be more like a middle-aged, rural, middle school lunch lady. She's nice, she shows up for work, but you're not going to be showing her off to your friends, if you know what I mean. Now durability, again, is pretty good, I would say. It feels like a brick, I can tell you that. It feels like if you ran it over with your car, it would probably work. Although the metal, I would say, is pretty stingy, but it's definitely not the least durable pistol that I've ever seen. But it will probably hold up as well as a Glock or an M&P, I would imagine. Now we'll get into ergonomics and shootability, and sadly this is where the pack separates from the Hi-Point. The slide is outrageously big, along with the blowback design gives the pistol much more recoil than it really should have. The 9mm feels a lot like a .45. And also because of that, it increases the length of time needed for follow-up shots compared to other budget pistols. You can see that giant slide right here. I mean, it's essentially half the gun, really. So if you look at how much I can grip versus how much is above it, you can see that it's got a pretty extreme bore axis. I mean, SIG would be proud if they saw the Hi-Point. And look at how big the slide is. The slide is harder to operate than traditional guns, so it's harder to load the firearm and get around in the chamber, and it's also much harder to clear those 1 to 2 malfunctions that you get every 100 rounds or so. The trigger is absolutely terrible. I believe it has a trigger, it does. It has a trigger safety on it as well, so if there's no magazine inserted, the trigger will not work. So as you can see there, the trigger is really, really heavy and fairly long, and it actually kind of angles downward, which makes accuracy fairly difficult. Another thing that makes accuracy fairly difficult is the worst sight design in the world. Really, the worst sight design in the world. If you can see there, what they did was they put high-def rear sights on it, right? Which in theory would be great if you had a high-def front sight. The only problem is this is a digital camo gun, and they actually digital camoed the front sight. So the most important sight is camoed, and the 2 rear sights, which mean almost nothing, they do help, don't get me wrong, but not near as much as the focus on the front sight does, are completely in focus at all times. So every time you try to shoot it, you're really searching for that front sight, and that adds time and decreases accuracy. Really, really a piss-poor design, in my opinion. Not to mention that these sights, the rear sight looks like it's removable, but the front sight is made right into the gun, so if you want to change these out, you're out of luck. The grip has absolutely no traction as well, as you can see there. 0 to speak of. The grip isn't horrible. I will give it that. I had to kind of do a little bit more of a revolver grip when I was shooting, because if you ride your thumbs up high like I do, you will slow this slide down, you will cause a malfunction. Getting into takedown really quick, I'm not going to do takedown on this, but you can research videos. The takedown on this gun is painful, to say the least. 1911s are actually easier to take down, and they're over 100 years old. And a Glock, holy crap, you could do a Glock blindfolded. This gun, however, not so much. Now, one of the things about the big ass slide, again, it has to be big because of the blowback design, but that does increase the weight. Now, this pistol is almost 2 pounds, remember, which is heavier than a fully loaded G17 with no ammo in this gun at all. And this gun only holds 8 rounds. So you've got a 2-pound gun that holds 8 rounds when you can have a 1.5-pound gun that holds 17 rounds. So consider that in your purchase as well. The safety is weird, as you can see here. It does work, but I don't love it, and I would prefer it if that safety was not even there. It only comes with 1 magazine, but again, this pistol can be found somewhere between $100 and $150, so what do you really expect? This is the magazine that I can show you here really quick. This is the 8-round magazine. Now, there is dots here to show you how fully loaded you are, which I guess is nice, and there is a little bit of a finger ramp here too, which does help you when shooting. So the magazine, I'm not going to knock on too much. Another bad thing with the High Point is holster and aftermarket accessory availability. So you're going to find a lot of problems trying to find accessories to make this pistol better, and especially a holster. Now, accessories are not necessary, but a holster is. If you carry a gun, you should carry a holster. You really should. It'll protect the trigger guard. A lot of people want a safety for their gun. Your holster is your safety. And the problem with the High Point is they don't make a whole lot of Kydex specifically made holsters for this. And not only that, but the holster, since the slide is so big and fat, it won't fit in a lot of universal holsters that a lot of other pistols will. Now that I'm done bashed on the ergonomics, we'll get into accuracy quick, and as you can imagine, it's not great either. If you've seen any of my videos, when I usually talk about accuracy, it's usually a mixture between how good the trigger is and how good the sights are. Because almost all pistols are inherently accurate enough. If you were to bench stress this pistol, it would be 100 yards accurate, I would willing to bet. But the problem is that you have to interface with the trigger in order to get that, and you have to use the sights to line the gun up. So if you can't really see the front sight because it is camoed, and you can't operate the trigger correctly because it's incredibly difficult, I'm not saying that you couldn't get good at this. I'm willing to bet there are people out there that got really good shooting this pistol, but if you are just an average shooter, you're gonna have to spend a lot more training time on this pistol to get good at it than you would another pistol because of the terrible trigger and the terrible sights. So what's my overall opinion of the High Point? Well, I can tell you that if you fit into the category of a type of person that can only afford to spend $100 on a gun, the High Point is not a horrible choice. It will work. The most important thing about a handgun is it shoots an appropriate caliber every single time you pull the trigger, and you get fairly good with it, right? Because shot placement is key. So if you're gonna buy your High Point, let's say you have $200 to spend on a handgun. You buy the High Point for $100, you buy $100 worth of ammo. I think that is a better choice than buying a $200 handgun, because at least you'll be good at it, and the High Point, I think, has good enough reliability to get most people through most circumstances. It would also be a good pistol for people who just don't want to spend any money on a gun. They just want to have a gun in case of emergencies, and they'll never touch it, never use it. And although I don't think you should do that, I think there's a ton of people that will do that. So if you're going to do that, High Point is not a terrible option, because at least you'll have a reliable pistol. But I would suggest to you that if you could save up $200 or $250 or even $300, you could get a significantly better, significantly more reliable pistol instead of the High Point. You could go with a used M&P, for example, a Gen 1 you can get some right now for around $200, $250, which is an astronomically better pistol than this is. You can also go for the Canic or maybe even a Tangfolio, EA Witness, something along those lines. All those pistols are going to be superior in quality, but they are going to be about twice as much, somewhere in the $200, $250 range. So all in all, if you only got $100 to spend, this is your guy. But if you got $200 to spend, do not buy this. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later. And I do leave a link to a local homeless shelter in the description, so if you want to help them out, they would really appreciate it. You just click on that and it'll bring you right to the donate page. If you got a little bit more money after that, hit up my Patreon account, because YouTube has pretty much demonetized all my videos, and I could really use your support. Thanks again. I'll talk to you later.
Fairly accurate.
Not really. It's hard to shoot.
Yeah,
Heavy
but
trigger.
you got it.
Whose ever idea it was for the front sight to be camo? That wasn't very smart. Look at the sighting system you're looking through.
Yeah, that's
That
silly.
is the worst design of a front sight I've ever seen. It's got the highest bore axis I've ever seen in my life. Heaviest slide. It's totally blowback, so it recoils like a 45, except it's only a 9mm. Super short grip with no texture whatsoever, but the damn thing runs. I don't know what else
Guess
to
that's
say.
all you really need, huh?
I guess.